I'm getting there, Carly.
Heidi.
I'm trying to get my laptop set up. Hello.
Can you hear me, Heidi?
Yeah, Barrett, like you're in an echo a little bit.
I hear you. Hold on. I was hoping I didn't have to use these big bulky ones, but I'm not sure.
It might be on my side.
I look like I'm gaming. Oh wait, they're backwards. Hi, Rich. Okay, now can I hear you?
Can you hear me?
Ah!
Is it on my side?
Rich,
Can you hear me?
I'm at Elevate, so if this isn't working, it's your fault.
You're at Elevate?
I can hear Rich.
Carly, you're at Elevate?
I can't hear anybody.
Rich, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Heidi, yeah.
Okay.
Rich, what's wrong with this computer?
Let me go look at it. Hold on.
Oh, I see. Somebody's got AirPods in. Here we go.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's why.
Ew. Okay, don't tell whoever's these are I'm using them. That's gross. Okay, talk now, Heidi. Let me see if I can hear you.
Talk or sing?
Yay, I can hear you. Singing works too.
No
I can
way.
use some singing today. That would be great.
I know a song in Tongan, but I won't sing it for you.
Oh, did you go there on your mission?
Los Angeles, but Polynesian people mostly. So yeah.
Oh, cool.
Hey, why are you at Elevate for, Carly?
Because I've been at the hospital all day with my mama.
Oh, that's right. She's
And
here.
I was worried that my computer wouldn't be good enough.
I thought for some reason she was in Boise. I don't know why I thought she was in Boise.
No, she's here. So
Is she okay?
yeah, she's doing good. She had some kind of emergency surgery, but she's good.
At Utah Valley?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's no good.
Yeah, she's recovering. So
how old's your mom?
Good. She born in 55. I heard her birthday like 20 times the last few days.
I was gonna say.
Somebody walks in the room, you have to tell them your birthday. So yeah. Older than you. Right?
Well, I hope your mom's older than me. That would suck. That means I'm really freaking old. How old are you, Carly?
I'm 43.
Oh my gosh, you're just a baby. Jiminy Christmas.
Yeah.
I am old.
Okay, it looks like we're getting a few more.
Hey, yeah, there's
Kathleen is coming in. I haven't seen her face on here before.
Who?
Kathleen.
Oh, Kathleen.
Client.
Oh, sweet. And we got Wadu's there, right?
Yeah, Wadu's here, and we got Carrie here. Oops, somebody else is trying to get in. Jen.
Nice.
Hi, Wadu.
Wadu, what's up, baby?
How you guys?
Good, man. Hey, what's up, brother? How was Thanksgiving?
It was good.
It was good. Had a good time?
Yep.
That's good.
Yeah.
That is
Good.
good.
Kathleen, I see your name, but not your face.
Is that Spire or Spear?
Spear.
Spear.
There she is.
There's Kathleen. What's up, girl?
I realized it was you leading this discussion or helping anyway, and I thought, I could chime in.
Oh, so Kathleen, if I was leading it, you wouldn't come on. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well,
don't answer that question.
Now and then, but I don't get to see Carly.
That's
I know.
And I'm actually at Elevate right now, coincidentally, which is weird, just for a minute.
I should just come on over.
I know. Okay, so I think everybody has entered, at least
Jen's
joined
here.
us so far. So let's get started.
Sweet.
I'm excited. Can you guys see that? Did I share my screen correctly? The reminders?
I can't see anything.
Oh, okay, wait. Sorry, I'm a little out of the loop today.
She's had a long day.
There we go. Can you see it now?
Yep.
Okay. So remember on these calls, if you haven't been with us before, the sessions are recorded. You can keep your camera off or remove your name if that makes you more comfortable. And then we won't worry about these two for now. So on our agenda tonight, we're going to talk about, Jen, it looks like it's having trouble. We're going to go through kind of a SMART idea. This is a little more developed than a quick little video that our other SMART ideas are typically. And then we have a 1-question quiz, and then we can see what we have time for after that. So please stop me along the way if you have something to say or you have a question. Just pipe up if I don't see your hand raised. So for this week's SMART idea, I really thought before we get too into the behavioral ideas, I really wanted to cover this basic concept. And that is that there is something that I would consider a drug that has been infiltrated into our food system. So first of all, let's just go ahead and define what is a food. It's essential for our survival. It's controlled by the nutrition thirst centers of our brain. And it's signaled by our brain when we've had enough. So with food, we get these natural cues. We get natural cues that tell us we're hungry, and we get natural cues that tell us when we're full. A drug, on the other hand, is an endorphin stimulating substance used to manage emotions. We don't take drugs because we're hungry. We take them because we need emotions that need soothing or numbing or controlling. It's not essential for our survival, and our body has the ability to override the thirst hunger systems in our brain, and therefore overconsume drugs. So our body doesn't tell us when to stop. And that's one of the problems with drugs, with alcohol, with anything really that's addictive, is that our bodies don't have the natural cues to know when enough is enough. So would you all agree that packaged carbohydrates, and down here at the bottom I clarify non-vegetable carbohydrates, are clearly a drug? They fit into this category. We eat them not because we're hungry, but because we're looking for our emotions to be soothed. We might kind of see that as hunger. You know, we definitely get cues to eat, but typically it's coming way more often than we need food. We shouldn't need to eat, 6 or 8 or 12 or all day long times a day. And so we're cued more like we are with a drug when it comes to packaged carbohydrates, things in bags and boxes with barcodes. So
it's interesting, Carly. I had a client come in today that was telling me he went through his eating schedule for the day, and he said, I fast through breakfast, and I started to get hungry about 1 o'clock, so I had a thing of cottage cheese and a half of a peach. And I said, oh, really? I said, now, why did you have a peach for? He says, well, I like peaches. I says, well, okay. And I said, it's interesting about that peach is that there's nothing in that peach that is essential for your survival. Nothing. And I said, so have that peach is, if that's what you want, it's fine. But I said, it's going to elevate your insulin. It's going to spike your insulin. And I said, there's really nothing in that. And he was kind of, like, really, isn't there vitamins in there that I need? And isn't vitamin C in there that I need? And I says, no, there's nothing in there that's essential. And it was quite liberating for him because he thought he was doing something that was appropriate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sure, there are vitamins and minerals in fruit. It does give you something, but that can also be gained through other things besides fruit. Our meat sources are a very good place to get nutrients, and we don't often see that as a place where you're going to find minerals or micronutrients. So good point. I like that. So the question is, how do we control our addiction to carbohydrates? Now, there might be some discussion in a more basic level of that question, meaning, are you addicted to carbohydrates? Are you addicted to carbohydrates? That's a question that we can talk about, or maybe you can, decide that for yourself. Most of us who have extra weight have some level of addiction to carbohydrates, I would say. If we weren't addicted to carbohydrates, we wouldn't We wouldn't be storing excess body fat. So whether you think you're addicted or not, maybe that's a topic you kind of explore over the next few weeks and decide for yourself.
And
I am
Carly,
definitely addicted.
and Carl, I've got a question. I don't want to interrupt you, but I've got a question. And I talk to my clients a lot about this, and I'm not sure I'm explaining it correctly, but I tell them, I said, most of addiction, like if you have an addiction to carbohydrates, it's not really, the addiction isn't to the food, the addiction is to the control. And they're not quite sure. I'm not sure I explain that very well, but most addiction has nothing to do. Like if you're an anorexic, it's not really about food or restriction, it's about control. And most addiction is about that.
Yeah, and I would say even on a more like primal level with food addiction, you're looking for the endorphin release. You're looking for this happy hormone experience that happens in your brain when you eat carbohydrates. And to me, it doesn't feel necessarily about control. It feels more about I'm used to this fix. I get this fix every day, and I need to keep getting this fix because that's what my body's telling me. And I'm willing to let go of that. And what I've recognized is that when I get rid of carbohydrates altogether, the need for the fix goes away. But when I keep carbohydrates in my diet, more than a few natural carbohydrates, the need for the fix is still there. So I would say it's a need for that. It's not the need for the food, it's the need for the light up that your brain gets when you eat carbohydrates. I think it's a little bit different than an eating disorder.
Right.
In that
Right.
way.
That's awesome.
So how do you control your addiction to carbohydrates if you agree that you have an addiction to carbohydrates? It's kind of a 3-step process, which makes it simple, but it doesn't make it easy. So the simple 3-step process would be, first of all, you have to recognize that there's this problem, that you have this addiction. Second of all, you need to remove it from your diet. And third of all, you need to replace it. Looks like I forgot a colon there, sorry. So you need to replace it. And when you replace something, if you don't put something back in its place, you're going to struggle for sure. You're still going to struggle even if you put something back in its place, but it sure makes it a lot easier if you can do that. So on a basic level, okay, well, let me start from the beginning. We all know what recognizing the addiction is. We all know what removing the addiction is. And then to replace it, we want to replace carbs with real foods that are actually going to satisfy the true hunger. So we want to use good, healthy fats, which we would consider things from animals and from fruits, such as coconut or olive. You guys know this already. This is so review. So replace with healthy fats and proteins. And then, I think it's okay to leave some natural carbohydrates in some vegetables, obviously. Some of those higher insulin spiking carbs in fruits you probably still want to eliminate. But the goal is to satisfy the hunger so that your body can get over the addiction. So that's the first step to replacement on a very basic level. But then what you've done is you've taken away the actual physical craving by filling your body with good, healthy food that's going to satisfy your hunger, but you haven't taken away the emotional craving. I often explain it. Kathleen will have heard this before, but I often explain it as you have a physical craving and you have an emotional or mental craving. And when you go to low carb, the physical cravings go away, but the mental cravings are still there. It's much easier to manage when you don't have two things fighting you and only one is working against you. But you still have to try and work on handling that mental craving. So now that we've talked about how do you handle the physical craving, the mental craving is kind of a 2-step deal, I think. And these steps can happen in order, or they can happen simultaneously. I've been doing this 5 years, and I feel like I still need this step in some aspects of my addiction, even after 5 years. So the first step would be to come up with a bridge. So a bridge in this lovely picture is taking the gap away from two things, right? We're making a connection where there wasn't otherwise a connection. So The idea of a bridge is to find a non-caloric snack that helps you manage the emotions that carbohydrates used to help you manage. So for some people, for most people, I would say this can be a drink. That's really the best thing to do that. Put some lemons in your water, put some cucumbers in your water, put a few strawberries in your water. Make something flavored. If you're drinking just water, it doesn't count as a bridge because it doesn't do anything. It doesn't light up your brain at all. But if you have a drink, something that can, because as a carb addict, I'm a very oral person. We like to put things in our mouth when we eat carbohydrates. And so coming up with a bridge, something you can go to put in your mouth when you're looking for that response, that light up in your brain. This is kind of a controversial topic, and us as coaches have had debates really when it comes to soda, because diet soda for some people might be a perfect bridge. And the way I feel about that, since I guess Carrie could debate me here, but and Rich too, the way I feel about that is if it's working with diet soda, great. Use it as a bridge. If you're not seeing the results you want, you're not having the success you want, then that's a good time to reevaluate your bridges and see if it's time to cut that one out. Anyways, that's just a thought. Most people don't just drink straight water. Most of us, especially carb addicts, have been used to soda and things like that, and finding something sweet that we can have every once in a while when we need a little, light up in our brain. If it takes the place of carbohydrates, then it's a good bridge to get you from where you were at to where you're going. What do you say, Rich or Carrie?
No, I think that's great. That's what I tell my clients, and that's what I do myself. I'll use the Ultima a lot because it's sweet, and it's got the electrolytes and it's non-caloric. Every once in a while, I'll use what's the other one that's non-caloric? Crystal Light, because it's got a little caffeine in it. But I try to avoid that as much as I can. But I'll try to get the Ultima as much as I can, and I'll drink a Diet Coke once in a while. Sometimes if the family's having a big treat, I'll do a diet root beer with cream. And that really satisfies me. It tastes like a root beer float. So I think there's things in there that you can do that definitely help. And I'm not as anti-pop as Shelby is. Shelby is the Gestapo when it comes to diet pop. But I have clients that do very, very well and see lots of success, and they still drink diet soda.
Yeah.
I mean, according to Ben, there's stomach issues and there are issues with gut health. But in terms of insulin, they just don't have an impact.
Yeah. Anyone else have anything they want to bring up?
I'll bring up something. Speaking of Ben and diet soda, he has said that if he does, and he'll drink it like a Diet Coke before he'll drink a Coke Zero because of the types of the sweeteners.
Yeah, we've seen that in practice.
Yes.
That Coke Zeros or anything zero actually still has a little insulin response where diet sodas don't. So good point, Heidi.
And I also know of a person who, I don't know what kind of medication they were on, but when they drank Coke Zero, it messed them up pretty bad with whatever medications they were on, the chemical, whatever.
Weird.
But Diet Coke, they were fine, but something in Coke Zero really messed it up.
Huh, interesting. That's cool. Anyone else have anything they want to bring up about a bridge? The idea of a bridge?
Do people talk about gum or mints at all?
Yes, and sorry, that would be another alternative, something non-caloric. Even for a while, I used cinnamon toothpicks, something that you can be putting in your mouth that has a little flavor, whether it's gum, mints, toothpicks. I've had a few clients that like to suck on sunflower seeds. And here's the question, really, when you're trying to decide, is this a snack or is this a bridge? If you're looking for the emotional experience, you don't want to, like Rich was saying, he has for dessert sometimes root beer with cream. If you're just looking for the emotional experience, have the root beer. If you actually have some hunger and you need some sustenance, have the root beer with the cream. But if you're going for snacking and it's all a mental thing or an emotional thing, then you giving yourself calories or energy when your body isn't asking for them. It's just asking for your body to keep storing excess calories or energy. So that's kind of one of the things that is really a good question to ask yourself throughout the day when you're going for food. If you're going for an emotional experience, have this suck on the sunflower seeds just to get the feeling of sucking on something, but don't necessarily eat the seeds. If you need some energy, eat the seeds. If you're feeling hungry, eat the seeds. So that's kind of, one way to look at, there is a difference between a bridge and a snack or treat. So.
Well,
Yeah.
well, Carla, that's what's so dangerous about nuts in general, is that nobody just stops with a handful of nuts. It's impossible.
Right.
Yeah, you're just going to keep feeding that engine, and pretty soon you've down 4 or 5 cups of nuts, and it's not about hunger anymore. It's just about patterns.
Right. And that's the cool thing about sunflower seeds is you can't really overdo them without
No.
getting a canker sore.
You'll
It
burn more
takes too
calories
long.
eating them than you get from the energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I take to the movie theaters is like my favorite is the salted caramel flavor. And it's a treat. It's such a treat. But when everybody else is eating, I'll eat those. And if I'm really not hungry, I'll kind of suck on a few and then I'll eat one and then I'll suck on a few. But eventually,
Oh, so it's you that's spitting those seeds at me. I see.
I haven't been to a movie for who knows how long.
I
Okay.
know.
So, when it comes to the second step, so bridges are the first step of the emotional or mental side of cravings. The second step is, I think, even more important, and like I said, can happen simultaneously, but it's kind of next level too. So when you're trying to take carbohydrates out of your life, often that means you're not snacking all day. When we eat carbohydrates as an addiction, we're eating them before breakfast, for breakfast, after breakfast, before lunch, after lunch. I mean, it's all day long, right? That you want little snacks. So one of the interesting things is that your brain can't focus for more than 20 minutes. So every 20 minutes or so, your brain needs kind of a reset. And often that's when you'll catch yourself, if you're sitting working on a computer, you'll catch yourself looking out the window, or you take a break and you get up and go walk to the drinking fountain, or you pick up your phone and you scroll for a minute after working on the computer. Your brain needs some breaks in between, focusing on things. And often it's those little times that we also feel triggered to eat carbohydrates. So as you're looking to kind of fill that gap, besides a bridge, there's 4 categories that are effort-based things. So they take some effort, but that if you can replace your carbohydrate addiction with these effort-based things or categories, not only will they leave you with a sense of well-being, where an addiction doesn't. An addiction might fuel the need in the moment, but it always leaves you feeling worse, right? If you're using one of these 4 things, it leaves you feeling better rather than feeling worse. So this effort that it takes to implement these things pay off in the long run is what I'm trying to say. So the 4 categories, let me go through them really quickly and then we'll come back and talk about them, are physical activity, human connection, creativity, and spirituality. So in each one of those 4 categories, I think it's really important to have many, many, many different things in every one of these categories, as many as you can come up with, so that, for multiple of those little breaks that you need throughout the day, you have lots of options. So if you're in the middle of a work day, you might not have the option to go for a walk in the woods like this girl's doing. Or you might not have the opportunity to call your best friend and have a great conversation that connects you. But maybe you can, pull up your app that has little meditations and do a quick meditation. Or maybe you can run up and down the stairs in your office 3 times. There's so many different ways to include physical activity, human connection, spirituality, and creativity. that we shouldn't just have one thing in each category. So for physical activity, I was sitting around the hospital today waiting for my mom to get out of surgery. And I had just been sitting so long. So the waiting room was kind of busy. I went in the hallway where there wasn't so many people to watch me, and I just wall sat. Do you guys know what that is? I sat against the wall as if I was in a chair, to kind of work all those major muscles. I really couldn't get up and walk around because I knew they were going to come get me any minute. I didn't have staircases to run up and down, at least that I knew where they were. So I just did a wall sit. So coming up with all different things, you know, can be helpful. So physical activity is an easy one to think about. What are the ways that you get physical activity? I think it's cool to have, right now I'm at Elevate and there's a fitness class going on outside. So some people will say their physical activity is coming to the gym, getting in their gym clothes, dedicating an hour plus a little warm up plus a little after cool down. And that's one great, awesome way to get physical activity. But my wall sit for me in my day today was all I could do. And that was great. Thanksgiving, one of the things we did as a family was go for a walk after we were all stuffed. You know, and in that instance, I was actually adding human connection and, to me, spirituality, which would be going outside. I think even just going outside can be spiritual because you're connecting with nature, you're connecting with the sun, all those kind of things. Anyway, so come up with lots of different things in each one of these categories, so that no matter what situation you're in, where you're at in life or in your day, there's something you can do instead of going for a carbohydrate. Human connection is an interesting one, and there's a lot of human connection that doesn't give you happy hormones, right? Some human connection gives you unhappy hormones. So coming up with, this can be physical touch. I did Meals on Wheels for years, and there were certain people that all they wanted from me was a hug and to like really just touch me. And I recognized in that experience that they were lacking in that department and they needed that physical, just somebody to touch you. And we know that when you touch somebody, their blood pressure lowers. That is cool. So that's a powerful thing to have physical touch, whether that's with kids or adults or your best friend or whoever, your mom or anybody, you know, touch is cool. I think this can also not just be human, but animals. I've watched a few of my kids who love their animals, and that is what calms them down, is getting their dog and loving on their dog. So anyways, but that can be physical or it can be emotional. It can be calling your best friend, just interacting with the people at the store when you're checking out with your groceries, and being really intentional with that interaction can be a powerful endorphin experience if you go into it with that in mind. I feel like I'm talking too much. Does anybody have anything to say about these ideas?
I'm enjoying. I'm just gonna warn Wadu next time he comes in, give him a big freaking hug.
Rich is good at that one. If you need a hug, come to Elevate.
Yes, I love hugging.
Oh, that's awesome. Creativity, one of my favorites. Kathleen could probably tell you this. One of my favorites, I've told this to everybody, is to sing at the top of my lungs in my car. Turn on some good music and just jam out. I'm sure people think I'm crazy driving down the street, but it lights up my brain. It gets me going. I love that. My sister's a painter. I could never paint a thing. So for some of us, creativity might be a harder one than others, but find a creative outlet. This could be like all of these categories. It can be simple and it can be extravagant, and it can be both, or some, you know, at different times in your life, maybe you'll have different needs or interests. And then spirituality, I often categorize this one as, it can be, to me, like church doesn't do it for me. I don't get that spiritualness when I go to church. So for me, like church spirituality can mean connecting to myself. It can mean just having quiet time where I can be peaceful. going into nature like this guy, soaking up the sun. You know, it can be like meditating or taking a hot bubble bath, anything that connects you to your own spirit or to some higher power. I think you could consider spirituality. So, anybody have any thoughts about these 4 categories that they want to bring up?
I am glad that you included the pets with the human connection. And I also think music can affect moods and things in all 4 of these categories. It works in all of them. So music is a big part of my life too.
Yeah, that music can be spiritual, it can be creative, and it can be, what was the one we were talking about? It can, yeah, it can definitely, and music can get you pumped up when you're exercising. Music is key for my life too. I love music. Anyone else have any thoughts about those they want to bring up?
This little kitty helps me quite a bit.
Oh, look at your connection on your lap right there.
Oh,
So
look.
fun.
Blood pressure goes right down. I chill. Makes me think clear.
Isn't
It really
that
does
so
help.
crazy?
Yep.
Yeah.
My cat does just the opposite. He digs into my legs with his claws.
That's my other cat.
That's awesome. I think anytime you're connecting with anything else that has form or has spirit, you know, I think you get that same like amazing endorphin experience when you're in the middle of nature, because everything you're surrounded by is nature. It's created by God, and we haven't tainted it, you know. And it's the same with an animal, and it's the same with humans. Humans can also come with triggers when we have past experiences with them, so they're a little more complicated. But animals and nature are pretty awesome. So are humans.
I think also a word of caution, I would say, at least in my life, and it's all of these things are connected, but you can use technology in all of these, but I would caution that if it's too much technology, it kind of defeats the purpose and it kind of cheapens the richness of it, and it could be the opposite effect, I think, if it's all done social media wise, or anyway, human
Yeah.
connection can be done social media wise, but that doesn't really, I don't think it really fixes it the way that it could be. I think it's only half the result. I don't know. I'm making up the number, but I don't think it's as good of a result.
Yeah, I think you're right. And the other thing about, when you think about your phone, I could pull up my phone and play my favorite little block game or flip through social media, and those are going to light up my brain too. I'm not addicted to them. I wouldn't call them an addiction, at least not really. But because there's no effort there, there's also not a lasting effect. So if you think about all these things, they take effort. Even going outside, today was a beautiful day. And, if you can go outside on a winter day and just sit in your backyard and let the sun hit you, that actually does take effort. It takes intention to set your life behind for a minute and go and be intentional about that. So things that require effort are going to leave you with a better lasting effect, for sure. And that's just kind of nature, isn't it? Like, isn't that what happens when you go to the gym and you work hard? You didn't want to do it when you started, but when you're done, you're never like, oh, I wish I hadn't have done that. Never have I ever heard somebody say that. You're always thinking, oh, I'm so glad I made the effort. I'm so glad I did that. So, yeah. So, the one question quiz kind of goes along what we've been talking about, but what are some effort-based activities you are or would like to include moving forward? Did that conversation trigger anything in you to think of a new, maybe hobby you want to pick up? Think of a new activity that you want to include in your life, or one that you already do that you now recognize, wow, that's actually really powerful and I need to keep doing that.
I think what I'm gonna do, I'll jump in and get started. So, but I think I'm just gonna take a piece of paper and make a quadrant. So there's 4 squares and put these in each, and then think of them ahead of time so that when I'm like in a minute and I don't want to, make a decision, then I just go look and there's like options already laid out. So
Yeah,
make
I
it,
love it.
write it out so it's already there. Stick it on the fridge.
I love it. So next time you feel triggered and like reaching for something in the fridge, look at your list and decide what one of these could I do. And even if you go to this extent, say, let's say you're really struggling with snacking right now after the holidays. Maybe we ate too much pie and now our insulin is a little higher and we're feeling hungrier and cravier. Tell yourself, I'm going to allow myself a snack if I feel like I need it after I do one of the things that are on my list. So try the effort-based experience first. And if that doesn't satisfy you, then give yourself a snack. Sometimes making these little deals with ourselves can actually help create better behavior. And I think habits is another thing I'm reading a book about right now that's really cool. And that's another topic for, we could talk many weeks about habits because, even when you have really good intention, it's creating habits in our life that determine our behavior quite often. So I think it's often more simple than, I have these really great ideas, but it doesn't fit into my pattern or my life. So we'll talk about that in the future too. So anybody else have any endorphin experiences they want to or are including?
Well, I tell you, Carly, I just spent 4 days with my grandson, and that was amazing.
You did what?
I spent 4 days with my grandson.
4 days. Oh,
and it was just spectacular.
that's quite the human little spirit to connect with, right?
Oh my goodness, it is. And he just loves his grandma and grandpa. So it is fabulous. Yeah, we were just on a high for 4 days, and you just, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. We're so focused on him and the connection with him. I didn't even think about eating.
That's awesome.
I just want to play with Oliver.
That's cool. Fun. You guys have been quiet down in the bottom. Jen, and remind me your name?
Jen's husband.
Jen and Jen's husband?
Yeah.
Jake, that's right. Thanks.
Yeah, Jake just got here, so I was kind of filling him in on things, and I was finishing up working while we started. But I guess if I'm gonna continue, so I started working out maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I'm going to the gym just 3 days a week and doing weights. And I've done that in the past. I really like weights way more than cardio. I get my cardio. I play volleyball and pickleball, and that's where I get my cardio. But I do not like to stay stationary very long on a treadmill. So I guess just keep on. It's hard for me to go to the gym alone. In the past, I've always gone with a friend or Jacob or somebody, but just with our times right now, I've got to do it alone. So that's what I'm going to keep on doing.
That's awesome. Yeah, see, and that when you pair those together, the human connection and the physical activity, it's more rewarding and it makes it easier, right?
Yeah, it's good. And habit forming, this is probably my 5th today. Like, this is like getting to be an addiction. But I asked Rich the other day, I was like, is it bad that I don't drink any water, like straight water? This is not Diet Coke. It just the mayo flavoring. Is that mayo?
Yeah.
Flavoring in it. I struggle with just straight water, so I rarely drink straight water, but I put a little squirt of flavoring in it, and if it's by me all day long, it's just a habit all day long. I just sit and drink that. I'm definitely getting my
I used to work for a urologist, and we noticed there was a time there when we suggested to stop drinking soda to people, and we noticed that people actually got more kidney stones when we stopped. So if that helps you to hydrate well, and if it's helping you to bridge the gap from where you were to where you're trying to get to, then I would say, why fix what's not broken? At some point, you might get to a place where you say, I'm stalled out, I'm not seeing the progress I want. And maybe that's when you evaluate, is that still working for you? So it's
talking about
working.
the Mayo?
Yeah, it's working for you right now. If at some point it feels like you get to a point where your progress can't continue without cleaning things up even more, then you can. And I would say then you can look at it and reevaluate it. But I would say a lot of people can get to where they want to go without cutting something sweet out like that. And like I said, it can be a replacement for a carbohydrate. If that feels like it's helping you, then why change it? That's my
It
thought.
was going from my 44-ounce Diet Coke to this. So I feel like I'm doing good.
That's progress, totally. And that's the thing to me. I have this debate often with people who want to, let's say a coach that wants to tell people, no, you have to do it as strict as and as clean as possible. So if there's something cleaner than what you're doing, why would you not suggest do it cleaner? But in my philosophy, the goal here is progress. And if you take somebody from, one of my all-time favorite clients who I've brought up many times, everybody's my favorite, but she just was this was so impactful to me. She came in and on her first day said, I can't do your program unless you can teach me to eat off the McDonald's and Wendy's dollar menus, because she couldn't afford anything else. And she was too uncomfortable and tired after a long day's worth of work on her feet to cook. So that was her requirement. And so we sat down with the menus and we highlighted everything she could have. And 80 pounds later, she was learning how to cook salmon. Now that she felt better, I mean, somebody who had never eaten fish was now excited about eating fish. So to me, like, start with where you're at and make progress. See what you can improve upon. And the idea of taking somebody like her to, sorry, we can't help you unless you eat grass-fed, grass-finished, organic sources of meat and vegetables, that wouldn't have worked for her, even though she ultimately kind of got there in the long run. So that's my advice, is work with where you're at and make progress. And baby steps are pretty important along the way. That's how we improve. So pat yourself on the back for the progress you're having. Wadu, what do you have to say?
Wadu is the ultimate water drinker, Carly.
You
Yeah, I drink a lot
you're
of-
a good water drinker.
I drink a lot of water, so.
That's awesome.
But I like that idea of trying to flavor it. But I'm just so used to drinking water now. It's just natural to me.
And if I would say, if it's working, don't go backwards. Like, don't add
Right.
flavor if you're good at drinking water. Like, that's the ultimate.
Yeah.
But if you feel like there's times when you're going for snacks, trying a mint or a piece of gum might be a really good option for you in those instances. Or saying, I'm going to put, there's definitely many ways to do this. The activities, the 4, areas of activity is a great way. Another way to kind of avoid those habits of snacking would be to tell yourself, I'm going to drink 16 ounces of water, and if I still need a snack after that, then I'll give myself a snack. So water definitely can be useful, but if it's that, endorphin light up that you're looking for, often trying to fill that void with something else besides a carbohydrate is helpful. So good for you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any thoughts? How did you guys do over Thanksgiving? Was it a tough holiday? Was it an easy holiday? You feel like you got this figured out?
Well, I could brag about my clients. They rocked.
Good.
Specifically 2 on this podcast right here.
Yeah, Jen, you were a little nervous for Thanksgiving, weren't you?
Yeah, I was, but we beforehand said we've been so good, we're gonna have one meal. And so
And the pumpkin pie.
yes, but we didn't even, he had one piece the whole weekend, one piece of pumpkin pie, and
Wow.
it's his very favorite. But we got a plate, and I got a little bit of everything, and I licked that plate clean, and it was so good. I had a half a piece of pumpkin pie and half a piece of cherry pie, and then we were done. We were done till like the next evening. We weren't sick. We didn't get sick. We just
Good.
felt full. Even the next morning, I was like, I still feel full, and we weren't hungry. So it wasn't until that next day. So it kind of worked out good. We basically did a 24-hour fast after our Thanksgiving dinner. And
Cool.
actually, that whole weekend, we were out with family, and we decided we were just going to have dinner. So we kind of had like a 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock meal, and we were fine with that. And that's what we did.
That's awesome. Good for you guys.
They rocked it.
Way to go. And I think it's also good to recognize we're all in different place in the journey. So the way you handle a holiday might be totally different than somebody else. And that's okay too. Kathleen, how'd your Thanksgiving go? Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, I just got off. It went okay. It was kind of an interesting, weird day. So I didn't overeat real big just because of the way things worked out. It was just a funny day. I enjoyed some things that I had a little of everything, just that much of stuffing and that much of sweet potatoes, and so I enjoyed it, but I didn't feel the need to snarf them up. And I had a little lemon
Good.
pie over the weekend, but didn't go crazy. And so I don't know. I feel pretty good about it. We'll see how it all
Good.
comes out tomorrow. But I did all right. I
Good.
feel
That's
okay
awesome.
about it.
Good for
So
you. I think there's
last
some
year,
what was
week,
that?
last year I lost weight the week of Thanksgiving. That was really good. And I think this week I might just be happy to maintain, but
Yeah.
I'm also at a sort of maintain phase where I'm just right on the edge of being where I want to be. And it sometimes it hurts the motivation. You get a little complacent because you're real close, and
Yeah.
I'm doing all right. So I get a little casual, but just trying to refocus and get back at it.
Good for you.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Way to go. Well, anyone else have any thoughts about holidays or kind of that idea to replace endorphin experience with our carbohydrate addiction before we wrap it up?
I can say that, like, for Thanksgiving, for 2 or 3 days before, I was kind of trying to do like a 20-hour fast just to kind of build up to that day. And I didn't have a big meal with anybody, but I did have a T-bone steak ready to go or to cook. And so I enjoyed that as much as I could and stayed on that path. I had a whole list of things that I wanted to do that day to kind of keep me busy and distracted from everything. I did not do that. I did one thing out of like 6 that I had. So I kind of fell apart there a little bit. But 2 days after Thanksgiving, I mentioned last week, I was at a funeral, and I was around people from my hometown and people that I haven't seen in years, some of them 1 year, some of them 15 years, some of them 20 years. And it's weird. I mean, they just like, Heidi, you look so good, this kind of a thing, and that was really fun to hear. But you're playing with your mind like, yeah, but I've got so far to, and it's like, yes, you can take a minute and recognize that, you look better, you feel better, you are better, but then you're still kind of like, okay, but I've got to be very careful and I've still got to go. But, to just hear other people see the change and see different was a nice little break from being so serious about every hour of the day. So,
That's
but
cool.
yeah, still had, funeral meal and all of that, but really, really easy to kind of manage through that and not stand out and look like, oh, I can only have this or that, just roll with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Good for
No
you.
pun intended. No pun intended. I did not have any rolls.
Oh, that's awesome. Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's terrific. I think holidays every year from here on out might be a little different, depending on where you're at and where your mindset is. But I think in general, it's okay to do days like that a little different, whatever that looks like for you, to feel like you're not being so strict and rigid with yourself that you're driving yourself crazy. So some years that might be, I'm going to take the meal off and I'm going to eat it how I want to. Some meals that might be, I'm going to have 3 bites of the things that matter to me. Some meals might, or some years might be, I'm going to find replacements that are low carb for the things that matter. It can be different for each one of us, and year from year, you'll probably notice the more you learn, the different your experiences will be. But I think it's good to, like we talked about last time, still be able to commune around food and to enjoy it. It's okay that it's pleasurable and that it brings us, happiness on a certain level. We just have to learn how to manage it. So good for you guys. I'm glad to hear.
Job.
And even when you don't have a good holiday, even when you overeat and your addiction comes back, it's always important to remember that those can be lessons that are reinforcing these ideas. That reinforces the idea that I don't like how I feel when I eat that way, and I got to get back on track. So I think there's value in every level of holiday experience. You just have to take it moment by moment and start fresh once you're recognizing that and ready to go. So anyways, there's always progress to be had. And learning is a journey, and it always, it ebbs and flows. So good for you guys for trying to stick with it and keep it going. So fun to see you guys tonight. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Carly. You rock.
You rock, Rich. Now I gotta come give you a hug.
Yeah.
Since I'm in
Why
the
who's getting my hug?
Thank
Okay,
you,
guys.
Carly.
Good to see you. We'll
Thanks,
talk to you next
guys.
week.
Thank everyone.
See
Bye-bye.
ya. Have a
Kelly.
good night.
See ya. Good to see you.
You too. Take care, Kathleen.
Thanks.